As I said at the beginning of the program, we'll be looking at the Standard Bank West Africa Investors Conference, which comes up in a couple of days. And I have here with me in the studio the Chief Executive Officer of Stanbic IBTC Stockbrokers Limited, Dele Shotubo, and Relay Additional. She's the Head Research of Stanbic IBTC. They'll be giving us more perspective on this. Thank you so much, and good morning and thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having us.
But let's quickly understand, what is this Standard Bank West Africa Conference all about?
Thank you very much. It's as you rightly said at your introduction, this is the 5th edition of the conference, and is organized yearly by Stanbic IBTC Group in Nigeria, and it's a flagship conference. It's actually designed as a platform to bring investors that are investing in West Africa face to face with corporate, with business in Nigeria, and for them to begin to look at opportunities that are available in this country and in the other part of West Africa.
When you say investors, sorry to cut you there, which talking about in particular, just domestic, all domestic and foreign investors?
Largely is actually tailored for foreign and domestic institutional investors.
Okay.
So, we've been having it for the past 5 years. This is the 5th edition, and it's actually going to kick off in Ghana on Monday next week, and it will run through to Thursday in Nigeria. We'll move from Ghana to Nigeria on Tuesday, and we'll continue till Thursday.
Now, why moving from Ghana to Nigeria?
It's called West African Investors Conference, and if you look at it, investment attention has actually been before now, yes, focused on Nigeria, and Ghana is gradually coming up. So we deem it fit to actually provide that platform for investors to look at opportunities that are there in Ghana. And from there we cross over to Nigeria.
Now, really, it's the 5th edition of the conference, and it seems to be a well publicized event. And like Dele has said, it attracts investors that cut across from domestic to foreign. Now, would you say that the objectives for organizing this conference annually has been achieved?
I think so, because I think what we have seen, if we think back to when we started, I think that Nigeria was newer in people's minds as an investment destination, and the aim was to create a platform of engagement for corporates to meet with investors, for investors to get a sense of the policy landscape, for the business operating environment, and so on. And I think we find that every year, the investors that come back are more knowledgeable, they're more insightful, they're looking for wider, deeper opportunities than maybe some of the more obvious ones. So I think that incrementally, they are certainly becoming more aware of what Nigeria has to offer, which is the intent behind it.
Okay, so how visible have these achievements been in terms of contributing to Nigerian economic growth? Yes.
Well, I think that the nature of the investors that come are typically portfolio investors, so they tend to be interested in investing in listed securities. I think that in terms of, if we look at the way that the market has been invested in, we can see that the significance of these investors has been the weight has increased over time. And I think that when we look at new issuance, as we expect to see the market begin to rebuild momentum over the coming years, this investor base will be critical in our view for ensuring that the capital that Nigerian companies want to raise is successfully achieved.
No, so which sectors in particular have we witnessed this growth?
Well, the focus has been on the larger, more liquid sectors. So obviously we've seen a lot of activity in the banking sector and also the consumer sector. I think that international investors in particular are very interested in the consumer story in Nigeria. And we find that they are always very, very interested in new consumer companies and new trends in the consumer space. So we expect that for some time to come, this will be a focal sector for this investor group.
Okay. It's an interesting, theme that has been picked, for this particular conference, Nigeria, time to deliver. Why that theme? Why now?
Yes, we picked that theme because, in the past, years, there have been talked around government even putting together a reform agenda, which actually focus on various and different sectors of the economy. And it has been, policy talk, different policy formulations, and we looked at it that over the years we've been having this discussion, we've been moving around, putting policy in place, and we think, yes, coming into 2014 is actually time for us to begin to see this, policy having, coming on board. I mean, the policy delivering, what is said to actually deliver. And that's why we looked at it that, okay, good, we need to move from the point of formulation to the point of actually, delivering all the things that we promised to do.
Now, looking at most of these numbers that we keep seeing, we know that Nigeria's economy is predicted to grow by about 7% this year. The most international agencies like IMF and World Bank actually predict that. And the Ministry of Finance actually says about 6.5, almost the 7%. But just how crucial are foreign direct investment and investors of the kind of caliber that we're expecting to be at this forum, be in achieving this growth?
Just as Relly said, the good number of investors that we're expecting are portfolio investors. And if we, tracking the market, our market, returned about 47% last year. And also, for the economy to actually, grow by the 7% that has been projected, it's very, very important that, okay, good, all the sectors, from agri to power to, transportation and everything that government is actually working on, and we're, expecting that these are the sectors that will yield this kind of increase, the returns that we're looking for. We need that, FDI, foreign direct investment, to be focused and directed towards these sectors. And one of the things that this conference is set to do is actually to bring face-to-face this caliber of investors and, the companies that we, that can bring about investment that will yield the kind of returns that we're doing. So it's very key that we have, going into 2014, that this, we have this kind of, events that will help us, discuss and get around this.
Well, just before we focus on some of those areas that you actually mentioned, you mentioned agriculture, you mentioned power, you mentioned transport. You said last year market return was about 47%. So with this conference, hopefully we have more investors coming in. How much growth should we be expecting? That's if we had 47% last year, let's just project. What might we be having this year?
Taking it from 2012, market did about 35. They're about last year 47. I think conservatively, and looking at around, what we have lined up for the nation, election is there and all whatnot. Plus or minus, I reckon that probably the market will be returning around 20-25% this year.
Now, that's a good one. So everybody should hold their breath and hope that it happens.
Sure.
Well, Ray, I'm coming back to you now. Dele already spoke about some of those sectors that we're expecting that these investors, when they do come in, we're going to be seeing significant contribution from them. Now, we know that that was one sector that was recently overhauled, and we saw the privatization, the unbundling, successful unbundling, I must add, and handing over to 14 successor companies. Now, are the reforms in the power sector appropriate for delivering electricity to both business and individuals? Bear in mind that most of these investors who are going to be coming in, that's what they really want. They want power to run their business and make returns, and so that they don't feel as if they're being shortchanged.
I think that one thing we can take a great deal of comfort from is that in the past, where Nigeria has enabled the private sector to enter a space, they've been able to navigate the terrain, whether the business operating environment, the regulatory environment, and deliver a real significant change in those sectors. The telecom sector is one that we can all see, but even if we look a little closer to home, even with cement, Nigeria has become self-sufficient in cement on account of a policy environment that is constructive enough for private sector to come on board. The thing with power is that it may be some time before there's direct investment by some of these portfolio investors in the power space, because they're still unlisted companies and still, I guess, turning themselves around. But Nevertheless, in the meantime, there will be a knock-on effect for an improved business operating environment, hopefully a lower cost of doing business, which will still positively impact the companies that these investors are already exposed to, and then down the line, hopefully provide an opportunity for investment more directly, in the power sector. So the key thing is that they are becoming sensitized early as to what is happening, and they can make their own assessment about where they think the challenges lie, so that when the opportunity for investing comes, they're not starting from scratch in terms of getting to grips with what is happening.